Hey gorgeous, welcome to my garden. My name is Roxana and I am located in central Indiana, and today I am going to take you around my east side of the house where I have a few things blooming, a few things growing. There are still a few things that I need to do to this area, a lot of things actually, but if I wait until those things are done before I show you, I'm afraid that the alliums, which are back there, will be done blooming, and that's really the only reason why I'm shooting this video, because I really want to show you how those are blooming. As I mentioned, this side of the house is on the east side. It's in between my house and my neighbor's house, and it only gets a few hours of sunlight, but that's plenty for the things that I have growing here. I recently posted a video about how I planted this little area right here. This is my gorgeous Boxwood hedge, and this thing is about 3 or 4 years old, and the boxwoods are finally mature enough so that they can be touching, and you don't even know where one boxwood starts and where the other begins. This obelisk that I have here is not really the real thing. It's made out of quilting hoops, and I picked up that tutorial from Laura of Garden Answer. And even though I made these guys in 2019, they're still holding up. They haven't been here the whole time, out here the whole time, but they have been in my garage and they're looking pretty good. I have dahlias and I have coleus here on this side, and I'm a little worried because my coleus that I started from seed, it's already showing signs that it's getting a little bit of sunburn. And this is the first year that I use this type of coleus. This is dark chocolate, I believe, and I'm not sure how well it's holding with the sun, and it will be an experiment this year trying to see how well it holds with the sun, but I am not worried. Hopefully the dahlias that I started from seed will fill this space, and hopefully we can get a bunch of new blooms. Things are coming to life, things are pushing new growth, and some things like those boxwoods that I have at the beginning of that stepping stone path are looking a little bit sad. If you look at these brown spots at the bottom of those boxwoods, you can tell that my lovely boxer has been finding my boxwoods, and it is causing some damage. Not on every boxwood, but definitely the ones that he has been finding, he keeps on visiting and peeing on them. Somebody mentioned that I can add something to his food to stop the browning of basically whatever he pees on outside, but I am still not really sure that I want to go that route. In the meantime, I'm just trying to protect these boxwoods as I am coming outside with him to let him out, but I cannot keep an eye on him completely. It is what it is. This stepping stone path, you guys, it is absolutely gorgeous, just gorgeous. I have a red bud on the left, and I have a serviceberry on the right. The serviceberry is already done blooming, but I just love how gorgeous and amazing it looks, and I love the canopy that it gives me for the entrance of this pathway. And the same thing for the red bud. This one is Forest Pansy, and I absolutely adore the dark heart-shaped leaves of this red bud, and both of them combined are going to give me a nice little canopy here. And if you are wondering, I do trim these guys a lot. As you can tell, I came here a little bit earlier in the day and I did a couple of cuttings of the branches of the red bud, and this is something that I have to keep on doing year after year in order to keep the shape that I want. But so far, those two look amazing there. Like I said, I still have a lot of things to do to this bed. I have to mulch, I have to install some irrigation, but my goodness, I just love how everything is looking right now, and it's only May, you guys. I have some millennium garlic, I have some perennials in containers, and that right there in the basket are gladioli, and I planted those recently, and I haven't really done gladioli in containers, but I started those inside. Just like dahlias, I started those inside, and I am hoping, I'm really hoping that those will bloom there. We'll see. And I do have a nice little trellis that I gave it, because those gladiola will get really high, and I have to somehow keep them in their place. This is my first spring enjoying these gladiator alliums. I planted a bunch of them in this bed. As you can see, they're all doing amazing. One thing that I noticed though is that they have been blooming for a long time. This is at least their second week, and they still look like they're going to go for a while. These things are huge, you guys. And one of the things that I love about alliums is that they're more reliable about coming back year after year. Nothing compared like tulips. So I'll probably be adding a couple more to this bed in some spots where it just looks empty without them, and I just love them. One thing that I'll probably change this year is that I'm going to be replacing that birth bath that is placed right there. I love the shape. I love the spot where it's at. What I don't love is the color of the stone. And I might actually look into staining it. I'm not really sure if that's the correct word, or painting it with some sort of chemical. I will prefer it to be a little bit on the darker side. This is a little bit too light for me here. The birds absolutely love this little spot here. One day I'm going to show you a bunch of clips of just how many birds I can get there in one single day. One of the things that I did recently here is that I added a couple of bags of that gravel for in between the stones. The gravel that I use for this little pathway is the one from Lowe's. And the only reason why every year I feel like I have to add a couple of bags is because my dog loves to run really fast through these stepping stones, and the gravel just kind of flies around and it creates empty spots, and the weeds just love that. So it's really easy for me and very inexpensive to just buy 1 or 2 bags every year and just add them here, and it just gives it a nice fresh, cleaner look. On this serviceberry I have a Clematis that it turned out to be the wrong color. It was supposed to be a nice pink double bloom, but instead it's a dark single purple. Nothing wrong with it, it's just not my color, not my choice, but I didn't really have the heart to remove it, and it kind of likes it there. Even though it doesn't really get a lot of sun, it kind of likes it, and it has been climbing up on the serviceberry. and I am going to let it. I mean, it's going to be fine. Maybe one day when I get really tired of looking at it, I will change it. Right here I have a quick fire hydrangea. Obviously nothing on it. And one shrub that I was really sad about losing because of the winter damage, of the winter temperatures that we had, was this rose. And you guys, this rose, this rose normally blooms in the spring, and it is an amazing show. But as you can see, all of those branches, all of those stems are completely gone. And I had a lot of things that did look like they were dead because of the winter temperatures, like I said. But I just let them be, and maybe hopefully they didn't completely die. And that is the case for this guy right here. It is coming completely from the ground. New branches are coming and growing from it. And what I have to do now is that I need to remove all of those dead branches. And I know that I have at least a weed or two growing through them. So it's gonna take me a little bit of work, and that's fine. And I know that I'll probably won't get blooms from it this year because I believe this one blooms on all wood, so it's fine. I'm just happy that I didn't completely lose everything. Did I say how amazing the alliums look like here blooming? Last year I added a couple of curtain steel beds to my garden, and I have two of them here. I have a bunch of geraniums and cosmos, and I think that I have some foxgloves as well in there. We'll see how they do. They don't really get a lot of sun, but the geraniums are loving it there. And right in front of the beds, I have a bunch of Atlas roses. They're just starting to open up. Once they're all blooming, it's going to be a great show. I have a couple of Boxwoods, one in the ground, a couple of them in containers. They definitely need to be pruned. I don't know if I'm going to let the ones in the containers there, but I'll decide in the next couple of weeks. My Annabelle hydrangeas are also amazing, you guys. They're looking very intense. I didn't do anything to them. I know that a lot of people trim their Annabelle hydrangeas at the beginning of the spring. In my case, I really didn't do anything, and they look amazing. The one thing that I decided for this year, at least for the fall, is that I am going to divide some of the shrubs. That is how this little hydrangea, or big hydrangea, was given to me by my neighbor. She gave me a little bit of a star, and it was a tiny thing from her huge shrub that she had. And now, a few years later, it is now a massive shrub. So I'm going to take a couple of divisions from it, and I'll definitely be planting a couple of these around my garden because I love this hydrangea. And you can't really tell because of how big the hydrangeas are, but I have a nice hedge of heucheras, and they just add a little bit of contrast between the gravel and everything else that is growing around them. I just love that. One of the things that I am doing new this year for this stepping stone path is that I remove a couple of hostas and other perennials that I had there. They did okay. My hostas did burn a little bit. They had just a little bit too much sun, and I found myself just cleaning them constantly, trying to keep them looking decent. So I decided to remove them, and instead I planted a bunch of dahlias. All of those sticks that you see there are my guides, my supports for the dahlias that I have there. I have, I believe, 12 dahlia tubers in there, and they're growing well. One of the things that I said that I was going to do is that I'm going to add irrigation. That's why I don't have any mulch on just yet. And hopefully this bed is going to look very, very different from what it did last year when it was in the middle of summer. I have a few buckthorns right there on the back. They're also about 4 years old or so since they had been planted here. They really don't need a lot of maintenance. I don't even water them sometimes, and they're still looking amazing. As you can tell from this video, this little corner right here where I have the dahlias get a little bit more sun, a few hours extra of sunshine. It's just how the house is built that this little corner right here gets a little bit extra, and I think that's just going to be great for the dahlias because they're just going to require all of that extra sunshine. And that is one of the things that I was worried when I decided to put dahlias on this east side of the house bed, because I was worried they were not going to get a lot of sun, but this spot, this little corner right here, is the perfect spot for them. I did leave my lovely geraniums, roseanne geraniums, because they are always one of my favorite plants to have around. And I actually have been keeping an eye for a couple of them at the store, and I haven't seen them just yet, so maybe it's just a little bit too early in the season to see them. One thing that I found, and I wasn't looking, one of the things that I found at my outings looking for plants was these Verbena bonarienses. I found them locally, you guys. I found 6 plants, and I decided to put them in between the dahlias here. So just imagine, if everything goes well, I'll have dahlias growing beautifully here, and also some Verbena bonarienses. And that's just going to look amazing. This side of the house is just looking amazing, you guys. You can see my kitchen gardener all the way in the back. The plants are growing. I'm not going to take you back there because this video is going to be really, really long, but the seedlings are doing great. Plants are doing amazing. And I gotta be honest, I wasn't sure how much I was going to enjoy the irrigation that I recently installed, but I do have to say, having the freedom to do other things in the garden while the garden is being taken care of as far as watering goes, it is really, really nice. The bees are going crazy for these alliums. One of the things that I was really, really sad about was the clematis that I have growing on each side of that arbor, of that metal arbor. And because of the winter temperatures, those clematises were really, really trash. One of them looked like it completely died to the ground, and I was really worried it was not gonna make it. But to my surprise, I have a couple of new vines that are growing up the trellis, and they look like they're going to be just fine. So I am hopeful that they're going to be doing just well. I may not get blooms this year, but that's completely okay. So what I decided to do on this side, since that clematis is not going to be as showy and it's not going to be taking as much space, is that I decided to plant a couple of my snail vines that I started from seed indoors. And they're doing okay. This is my first year growing snail vines, so we'll see how they do. I have another area on my garden where I planted them as well. So I have a couple of chances to see if they give me any blooms. That container that I have there with that small little trellis is my grafted tomato that I showed you as well a couple of videos ago. And it's looking really good. It definitely gets plenty of sun and it's growing nicely. And this area of my boxwoods, you guys, I just love that little corner. I did have to trim really hard my bridal wreath spirea because I needed to make some space for that tomato and for other things growing there as well. And right here I have my Baptisia, my rose, David Aston rose that I received as a bare root, and it's growing nicely. It's doing really well, and I don't know if I'll have any blooms this year. I'm hoping that I do, but if not, I already have the other one, the other shrub, and my goodness, that one I'm just in love, you guys, with that rose. So over here we get past this arbor and we're at the backyard, and that's where I have my very cheaply made fire pit, and we have my lovely kitchen garden. But that's going to be a tour for another day. Let me turn you around. This is how the path looks like from the other side. It gives me so much joy just to have this little path with some plants growing. I think the alliums really do make a huge difference when it comes to this path at this time of the year. I am definitely going to be purchasing a few more this year so that I can plant them around my garden in other areas because they look really amazing. I hope that you guys enjoyed this quick video. I hope that I was able to bring you a little bit of joy, sharing with you the things that are making me joyful this time of the year. Thank you for being here, you guys, and until the next time.